So Nigeria is home to more than 250 ethnic groups and many faiths. This diversity is often called our strength, but it has also tested our unity. Today we ask, how well are we managing our differences, and what does diversity really mean for Nigeria's future? At this point, joining us in the studios, we have Nurrudeen Hammanyero, a political and public commentator. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Professor Abdullahi Shehu, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, who is an expert when it comes to the oil and gas industry, as well as law, and a public commentator as well. They will be helping us, unpack and analyze the diversity that Nigeria has when it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to religion, as well as other things. So for Nigeria, let me direct this question to you, Mr. Hammanyero. For Nigeria, having a diverse ethnicity with over 250 ethnic groups, that in itself is a lot to come together and do the needful when it comes to Nigeria's interests. So how do you think so far Nigeria's ethnicity has played a role when it comes to future development in Nigeria, as well as its impact in history?
First of all, happy independence to all Nigerians, and to you in particular. You look beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria, we have, just like you rightly said, so many ethnic groups, so many languages, and on its own is a strength. We all agree to that. And the country has made deliberate effort from independence to now on uniting Nigerians, particularly in the 70s down to this very moment, where agencies, institutions were established for the purpose of unity. Just like what we know happened after the Civil War, when NYSC was established in the 70s, and the essence of it was to bring about unity and understanding, love and harmony between Nigerians, the creation of unity schools where you go in any part of the country as a Hausa man or an Igbo man or Yoruba man or a Yoruba man, you have friends from all divides, or the federal character principle arrangement in the federal government where the government has accepted that, okay, these are our people and these are their backgrounds, and whenever the government is going to take a decision, this decision must reflect down to the least person in the society, meaning every tribe must be represented in our federal character. This is the essence of the establishment. And also going down to a lot other more of things government has done. And then coming, private individuals have also made this effort in one way or the other, deliberately, either as religious bodies where we allow interaction between different faiths just for the purpose of understanding, so that people don't give bad interpretation to religion without even knowing what it stands for. We organize symposiums, Christians invite Muslims and Muslims invite Christians. We see it happen in our secondary schools. These were efforts made in the past. Now, has it worked? At some stage, yes. What happened? That it is no longer effective, because we have been seeing some scores of intolerance in the society. Just of recent, we have seen a US Congress woman who accused the Nigerian government, based on information given to her, likely by Nigerians, of Christians that are killed by Muslim, the way they put it, by Muslim terrorists or banditry, or how do they define them. And we've seen what is happening in the Benue, in Benue State, between the thieves and the Fulanis, and then sometimes it degenerates to religious intolerance. We see what has happened in Plateau State that even led to declaration of state of emergency. We are seeing, so a lot of these things are happening, and it all comes down to leadership, sincerity of purpose, and then the honesty in discharging our responsibility, because whenever these institutions are supposed to work, it needs more than just the policy to function. It needs a deliberate concern from anybody that will steer the affairs. Just like the president says today in his speech, I am going to steer this ship to a safe harbor. This is an intent, a good intention, matching it with action, and then we are expecting a result. So for our institutions that ordinarily should define our unity to this stage, and we would have benefited a lot in it, and our children would have understood each other very well, but so many years down the line, counting, almost 50, because some of these institutions in the 76, 73, and for some of them are more than 50 years. Now, what is happening? Institutions like the NYSC that were established for the purpose of unity, today, on record, you see students or corpers not willing to go to any state they are posted because they are not safe. The same thing with students today. Our unity school that used to be number one. I'm a product of a unity school. I went to Federal Government College, Ukari in 1993, and I had friends from every corner of this country, but today they have been relegated to the least in the society. The same thing with the federal character, who is at the helm of affairs, has the yam and the knife, hence does not obey simple rules as to obeying who gets what and whose right is not to be tampered with. So all these things are happening, and it goes down to leadership. And I think 65 years is enough, or more than enough, that we should recalibrate and really mean well for the country so that we'll go forward. So we have a long way to go. We have drifted so much, but there is still hope, and light will be at the end of the tunnel.
All right, thank you. Professor Zuru, let me turn back to you. At this point, Nigeria is celebrating its 65 years of independence. And having to celebrate 65 years of independence, you are equally celebrating democracy as well. Let's look at what happens when it comes to the political scene in Nigeria in relation to ethnicity and religion as well. When it comes to it, a lot would say that politicians or the political scene do use ethnicity and religion as a tool when it comes to divide Nigeria. A little bit of reminiscence always goes back a long way. A lot of Nigerians would say, or that have lived at that time, would say that Nigeria used to be harmonious, even though there's still a lot of ethnic groups, which is over 250. What is the difference in what was then in Nigeria and now in the political scene when it comes to using ethnicity in their political matters?
Thank you so much. Happy Independence Day, Nigerians. Honestly speaking, in a smog of fabrication, it's so difficult for you to distinguish reality from myth. With deep retrospection on where we are coming from as a country and where we are as a country, you don't have to pontificate to draw the conclusion that we have been very bad managers of our diversity, very bad managers of Nigeria's diversity, and to a large extent is to blame for the current punishing rate of things, in the country. I mean, in terms of national body politics as well as the national economy. The reason why I am correlating both is this. The economy itself is nothing but, in the language of Kanaks, is nothing but a concentrated political expression. Whoever controls political power controls the national economy. Now, coming back to how mismanagement of our national diversity has caused the current climate of uncertainty, political uncertainty in the country, it is obvious that with the passing away of the first generation of political leaders that this country had, who were patriots by every measure of the nomenclature. What followed thereafter, to me, were a legion of political opportunists who pay very little attention to national patriotism, call to duty, and the general well-being of this country. Politicians, for whatever reason, have done so well in injecting ethnic sentimentality in our body democracy. Little surprise about that, because if you look at the structure, the political structure of the country vis-a-vis the democracy that we have in place, I wouldn't call that extremism of viewpoint. When Susan Rice, one time on the Secretary of State, was asked on the Capitol Hill to describe Nigeria's democracy, and she minced no word in saying that Nigerian democracy was nothing but a functioning anarchy, now devoid of sincerity or purpose. Whenever you have a situation where people believe that democracy is about advancing self-interest, class parochial interests, then they can go to whatever extent to post-electoral victory, which will drive their political or power aggrandizement. And I think that was what happened to Nigerian politicians, leveraging on our diversity, and dividing the country along ethnic lines, because it will be easier for them to conquer and achieve electoral victory at whatever cost, because that is the state that we are. Now, if you leverage on ethnic diversity to advance political benefits as a politician or as a political class, then we should likewise forget about our collective national interest, because that will never serve our collective national interest. And to a greater extent, that has undermined our collective well-being, and that has degenerated to the level of anarchy, where you have banditry, kidnapping, now define our collective social existence. It is very unfortunate. I am not overly a pessimist, but I think the road ahead does not reassure that we are getting things right and we will make the desired progress as a country, and then giving the country the opportunity to realize its own maximum, potentials. How that will be, I don't know. Perhaps as the discussion progresses, we will hear yet another view, different from mine.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So, at this point, Mr. Hammanyero, when it comes to identifying or recognizing that there is a serious problem when it comes to the divide in ethnicity and religion here in Nigeria, how can we make sure that we uphold, should I say, nationhood in Nigeria in pushing forth the idea or the ability to be able to stay in peace and unity, changing the national narrative when it comes to the ethnic and religious divide?
The major things that characterized these ethnic divisions we are talking about, and then looking at it side by side, what we stand to achieve as a nation positively, we really have to look at our ethnic and cultural differences, the religious crisis that is bothering us, and then the marginalization and exclusion in a way that today is the feeling all over the country, depending on who is in power and at what time. Now, that being said, if there is no safety for a Nigerian the moment he leaves his immediate environment, either directly or indirectly. Directly in the sense that when he leaves his area, particularly going to a place where he has differences with the people over there on language, on religious practice, cultural background, he has lost his safety. He begins to think otherwise because there is no tolerance. And I think education is key to allow our children understanding the history of this country based on its diversity. Because in the past, I tell you, like I said, I'm a product of Unity School, and in my school, language was compulsory. You are either, there is Igbo, there is Hausa, there is Yoruba as the three major languages, and you are to choose one. One of the mistakes I made was choosing my language, which is Hausa language. Maybe if I had chosen, and that has not really stopped anything, but because I had the exposure, but maybe if I had chosen Igbo or Yoruba, today I would have conquered some barrier because of the language. Meaning anywhere I go that is a Yoruba speaking area, I will blend very well with them. The fact that yes, we went to the same school, we related at that level, we understood each other, but maybe if I had understood the language, that would have helped a lot. The same thing with the Igbo people. So I think Nigeria needs to re-energize itself. Thank God I saw it not quite long, the revival of history back to our curriculum. Meaning children these days will begin to understand those things that some people benefited in the past and eroded it deliberately just to subjugate. We have to deliberately make this effort so that our children will understand their differences. And I tell you, it is not only the effort of the federal government. It starts from individuals. You need to allow your children to understand the society, to free up with people in the society. And let me tell you what I have done not quite long. Just a week ago, my daughter, I enrolled her in the Air Force Secondary School because all along her primary school, nursery and primary school was a Muslim school. But I know what I enjoyed in my relationship with all those people I have mentioned in the federal government college. And today, I'm benefiting from it. So for me to also put her in that line, she will have to pass through institutions that have this representation of different languages. Hence, today she is in the school, and the person that received her as her school mother is a lady from Delta State, a Himeda. And I'm happy she's a Christian, meaning she will now understand that there is a life outside what Islam, what daddy is teaching her and what the Islamic school has taught her. Nigeria is a secular country. There is a Christian, their religion is Christianity, but we are first of all humans, we are first of all Nigerians, and this ecosystem permits that we must stay together and work together to make sure the society functions and it will become beneficial for all. So now she is there. That said, I am advocating every Nigerian for us to conquer this, no matter the extent of policies we put together, no matter the effort from the federal government. Okay, we just finished discussing institutions that have been existing for 50 years. But because people make this attempt, do you know some people cancel their NYSC posting because they don't want to go to the east. Some people cancel it because they don't want to come to the north. This is 65 years after independence. So are we really bridging the gap? Are we really healing those wounds post the Civil War? Has democracy really helped in bringing us together, or is further dividing us apart? So that effort has to come from the religious organizations, from other civil society organizations that will know, look, we are not creating a conducive environment. And if I feel I'm safe today, the tables will turn tomorrow. I will be the victim tomorrow. So I think societies will really need to wake up to these challenges. Parents should free up. And those areas or regions of the country that does not have tolerance for one another, for one religion or for one cultural background, should learn to free themselves and begin to look at people, first of all, as Nigerians. Yes, there is a lot to look at when you are looking at 25, 65 years of independence, and we are still talking about our national integration that is looking like a mirage. The more you look, the less you see. I still wonder if I am a Nigerian, because for a simple article on the newspaper, for example, or online, maybe somebody wrote about Tinubu says this and that. If you look at the comment, you'll be wondering, are we really Nigerians? Because the moment you say something, so the first person that will reply you will attach your religion to it, will attach your language to it, will attach. So there is, I think we have drifted so much. And we cannot solve the problem by just mere, policy making. It has to come down to effort from the least person in the society that I have accepted this is a wrongdoing and we are going to change. And this is my own contribution. And if I can do it, you will do it, Prof will do it, then Nigeria will become a better place for our children. We may not get it right immediately, but what is happening today is killing everybody in the country. When it is a Yoruba man's time, what happened in Nepal? What happened in Nepal is a product of unemployment, policy making by lawmakers to impede on the teeming youth population about their freedom of speech. All these things, and it blew up. None of them would have ever imagined that nepotism is one of it. None of them would have ever thought that it is this time in Nepal that their children will revolt, the Gen Z. But look at the revolution. It killed a lot of people, pushed a lot of people out of power. Nobody is calling for that. But what we are calling for is for a reconsideration. The government should be very careful. The cyber security bill has just been passed. And one of its aims is to control, how people overuse the social media or abuse it and other things. Now, there has to be caution in implementing this bill so that people will not begin to misinterpret it that, okay, I am now a victim because I am a Hausa man or I'm a Muslim. That's why I'm being targeted by the government. Or because I'm in the APC and the PDP government is targeting me. The moment we don't implement this bill appropriately, the way it should be, it will backfire. It is a good one, but we have to be very careful in implementing it. And this goes all around in every part of this, our discussion, to address this challenge we're having today, as far as our diversity is concerned. Then we all have to put our hands together.
All right. Let me turn back to you, Professor Zuru. When it comes to, let's speak about the government and governance as well. A lot of Nigerians have come forth when it comes to, political positions or different sectors in the government. And it seems like a lot of Nigerians feel like there is prejudice or favoritism when it comes to each government when its tenure is, when it's the time for their tenure in the office. And for each time, a lot of Nigerians would complain, because it's a Hausa man or a Fulani man, he gives it to positions to Hausa or Muslim Nigerians, or if it is a Yoruba man, and cases like that when we do have it. So in, I would say in should I say a proper scenario of future Nigeria that would be, amicable to all Nigerians when it comes to ethnicity and religion, how do you think things should go instead of what is assumed is going on at this point?
Well, ever cogent observant of power politics in Nigeria will accept the fact that the current political trajectory is not sustainable. it is heart-wrenching to admit that after 65 years of political independence, what we have beyond the capture of our national constitution is tribes rather than national citizens. People place higher premium on their ethnic identity than the identity of their nationhood. And in the current scenario where you have majority or relative majority or the critical mass of our population have been excluded from the benefit of progress, you can then appreciate the current degree of despondency, in the country, particularly among the youths. Now, let me give you an example. I sat in Calabar maybe about more than 30 years ago, to my NYSC there. Immediately after the NYSC, I saw an advert for a job. I applied for it. In Lagos, I was invited for an interview, open interview, written test, oral interview. There and then at the interview venue, I was given my offer of appointment. That has now become a national conjuncture. What has replaced that is a regime of nepotism, selective favoritism, where merit has become the ultimate casualty. And this has created the feeling that what merit has entitled me can only come to me when someone from where I came from is on the driving seat. This has actually set us far, far more asunder as a country. Now, you have to blame it on maybe a toxic ethnic consciousness, which may not be entirely insulated from the historical antecedents of this country, the political history of this country. We were, just a moment ago, my colleague on the panel was talking about the Nigerian Civil War. Actually, that was the darkest moment in our collective existence as a country. And much as we would like to admit that there was an expression of genuine intention to bring us together once again, that's to build on national unity. I think the way we have managed national policies that would have brought us together as a country have been opportunistic for political reasons. And beyond the rhetorics of national unity, people could see behind the veil and begin to recoil back into their ethnic cocoon, prioritize ethnic identity rather than nationhood. What is the way forward? I believe our political system would have to recalibrate, because the current political system appeared to have so much historical hangover and innovative fatigue, because it's not a system that has really produced role models in this country. It's not a system that has created a culture of genuine leadership. And that's the reason why majority of Nigerians will prefer to look at leadership from the convenient pinhole camera of ethnic convenience. Take, for instance, a system that has been so monetized and by so doing has excluded people that have so much to offer by way of national leadership. Of course, it's a system that is doomed right from the get-going. And that was the reason why I said the political trajectory of this country is simply not sustainable. It's either we own up and begin to initiate remedial actions, or eventually something has to give way. A revolution, just like what happened in Nepal, is not an exportable commodity. It evolves with the growing anger and despondency. Before Nepal, there was Ales Ceausescu in Romania. That was exactly what happened. People just got fed up and they started marching towards the presidential palace. The army killed as much as they could, but eventually they got to the presidential villa and hanged the president and his ministers. So, I mean, history is littered with so much lessons for national leadership. And I believe unless our political culture has evolved to a degree that what matters is your integrity, the integrity of intent, the capacity to deliver on leadership mandates, unless it has evolved to that level, well, I think we will remain in the wood for a very long time to come. Like, the only reason why I should be a bit optimistic was what Winston Churchill said. He said we shall do the right thing when all the alternatives have been exhausted. When you are left with no options and options of personal conveniences, alternatives to get things right, you have no choice. I mean, alternatives to get things wrong, you have no choice but to get it right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That was quite an insight, Mr. Hammanyero. I would like to hear your perspective when it comes to the future. At this point, we understand that this ethnic divide needs to be bridged. These religious divides need to be bridged. In an ideal in Nigeria, hopefully in the future, where do you see this diversification or diversity, should I say, taking us to? Is it going to be something of a unity, us coming together, as well as everyone that is involved, that is concerned, for the benefit of Nigeria? Or are we going to keep on going on this trajectory? And if we do, where do you see it taking us to?
I hope we don't keep on this trajectory, because it will be catastrophic. I think the government has to make a very deliberate effort and aggressively. Aggressive in the sense that those institutions we mentioned, they are there. They should be allowed to function. Those institutions should be revisited. For example, the NYSC should look at its mandate. The president should put competent hands to make sure that this institution live up to expectation. For example, NYSC, like I said, should make sure every corper that is posted to any state should go and serve in that state, and the state should be given, should take the responsibility of that corper for so long as the corper, he or she, is in service, to guarantee their safety. This will once again rejuvenate the initial idea of the federal government as conceived by former head of state Yakubu Gowon, together with other well-meaning Nigerians, to achieve unity, to bring about harmony, to bring about understanding of who we are. And this will allow the understanding of this culture, this diversification we are talking about. These unity schools, the same thing should be applied. If the parents should begin to allow their children to go to FGC Enugu, FGC Maiduguri, FGC Ukari, FGC. Parents should allow their children to go to these unity schools and interact with their fellow Nigerians properly and understand each other. Now, there is an aspect of it that is very, very important, because in a society that is eroding, and for a country like Nigeria, that our people are so sensitive to two things, culture and religion. We are so sensitive and attached to these two things. cultural leaders and religious leaders should rise up to this occasion. They should begin to understand that we have done so much harm by not preaching to our people on what unity stands for as against the division we preach for simple, mere political gains sponsored by political criminals. Because at the heart of this, today, if we dissect it, you will find a politician. At the heart of all of this, our conversation, you will find a politician because he is exploiting everybody just because he wants to stay on power. And what does that mean? Religious leaders come together. 2027 is approaching. Competency against material things. Identify reliable people, trusted people, capable people in your society, and hand them over the duty, to go and interface with the federal government and put up policies that will look after you and your people and your children yet unborn. Otherwise, we will remain on the trajectory like you earlier said. And just like the way Prof said, we will remain in the wood for a very long time. But not to do that, religious leaders have to come together. And I like it. One of your sessions, I saw Sheikh Nuru Khalid and one of the other clergy, the pastor.
Yes.
They were deliberating on what the federal government should do to control and check excesses of clergymen in the country. Because today, you will see an imam will sit down at his comfort zone and begin to preach, dish out dangerous things or pastor because a politician is sponsoring him. Right. Once there's a regulation to that, and they are made to understand that they contribute to the greater development, not disunity, then it will go for
All right, our time is almost up. Let's quickly hear from Professor Zuru, just quickly in a few seconds. At this point, it is quite important to have a different perspective or a change of perspective. That is when you have to unlearn some things and relearn. So when it comes to the frame of mind and the way of thinking, at this point, the President Bola Tinubu administration has initiated a national values charter in the sense of making sure that it instills patriotism, nationhood into Nigerians. Do you think that is the way forward, or is there a better alternative to do what is needed?
I think it was well intentioned, but in a country where you have, as the order of the day, rented patriotism rather than genuine patriotism, I think it goes beyond policy structure. Once a society has not been able to produce people that you could look up to and say, these are our prima donnas, these are our role model in terms of integrity, okay, in terms of selflessness, in terms of educated reasoning or intellectual competence, and have them on the driving seat, because what we have, sadly, it has to be said at some point. We have built a society that is devoid of institutions of accountability. We have built a society where the average of us usually comes first before the best of us. This has to change. And you can't actually imbue patriotism into the heart of people. People embrace it as a matter of necessity, as a matter of national pride. If you can allow me just 1 second to recall an experience. While I was studying in Scotland, I had a roommate, an American, who served in Gulf War I, who was discharged. He was asked at the point of discharge, choose what you want to do with your life, and the American government will be responsible for you. He said he wanted to go to university and read, and he chose to come to Scotland. We were living in the same house with him when I was doing my master's in Dundee. Every morning, when he was stepping down to go to the kitchen, he will step down with an American flag, and he will hoist it in our presence, and he will step back and salute and said, "May God bless America." Not that we were compelled to replicate the same level of patriotism, but at a point, I told my friend who was also a Nigerian that we must find a national flag. As he was hoisting his own in the kitchen, we will also hoist our own. As he was rhetorically, declaring, may God bless America, we should likewise, even if it is cost and pest patriotism, we should also say, may God bless Nigeria. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Nurrudeen, Hammanyero, and Professor Zuru for being here and helping us, have an extensive discussion on today's Independence Day celebration right here.